so many women and their partners and families, this is a longed for baby, someone they've been hoping for some considerable time in many cases. And to have to go into hospital and to deliver that baby is just a time of unimaginable sadness and tragedy. And whilst, really excellent bereavement care can't bring that baby back, it can perhaps make that first part of that bereavement journey a little more manageable than it might otherwise have been. I would never say that it makes it easier, because it's never an easy journey, but can certainly make it a little bit more manageable with the right staff who've been trained in the right way.
And this brings us on to maybe some of the elements that we can focus on to a certain extent, that the experience that women are having is very different in different parts of the country. And that can be based around the training that staff are receiving, but also the spaces that are available to them. First and foremost, let's just talk about these bereavement rooms or suites, the best practice, if you like, good examples that you've seen and heard of that really offer women that women and their families that better experience through that hospital process.
That's right. So many hospital trusts and boards across the UK, maybe through core funding, but largely through localised fundraising activity, will create or develop a bereavement room or a bereavement suite, some of which are clinical rooms, so where the birth can actually take place. Others are rooms which are provided for women and their partners after the birth of their baby. And these are spaces that are airy, that are light, that are away from the main and busy labour ward, and are accessible, and really are a special space for mother and partner and maybe family to spend time with their baby and to create memories. And as I say, if it's well furnished, if it's tastefully decorated, if it's soundproofed, and if it maybe has an ensuite and a sofa bed, perhaps for the partner to stay overnight, these can be just incredible sanctuaries for families in the midst of their grief. And just at that start of that bereavement journey, to have the time with their family and indeed with a midwife or another healthcare professional on hand who's able to come in and to see them as they're just beginning to process, as I said, the most unimaginable tragedy that's befallen them.
Absolutely. And that emotional impact will be absolutely huge. It's so crucial that that environment is the right environment at the right time. Mark, we're also hearing, though, that there may be some of these bereavement areas, if they exist within the trust, some of them aren't soundproofed, some are very close towards. So a mum-to-be may be sharing ward space or corridor space with parents who've just become, the parents of healthy babies, the sound of crying babies, the sound of happy families, children and guests arriving with balloons. That's a very difficult thing for people to experience. And maybe that's one of those examples why that enclosed or specialised bereavement space, which is invested in, can have a much more positive impact on someone in that situation.
That's right. And the situation you just describe is one that sadly many have told us over time that they found exceptionally difficult, that they were cared for, but within earshot of, as you say, crying babies and happy families, coming in to celebrate the birth of their much longed for new arrival as well. And it does have a long lasting effect on women and their partners for many years to come, if that's been the case. So, that's one of the things that we at SANDS and other charities and partners that we work with promote, is to have not just a space, but a space that is soundproofed and is away from those busy wards. But we also understand too the pressures that are on NHS staff and facilities, particularly, it goes without saying, over the last 2 or 3 years. And it's not always practical to have that room, immediately away from a busy labour ward. And of course, in many cases, women will still need to receive particular medical care. So it is about getting the balance right. But one thing we would always promote is to design these rooms in conjunction with bereaved families. And a lot of what we promote through the National Bereavement Care Pathway is centred around the needs and the wants and the wishes and the experiences of bereaved parents themselves. So to speak to those who have been bereaved, who have used a bereavement room, and to get them to help design or redesign those rooms and those spaces can be an incredibly powerful thing, not only for those parents who sadly will end up using that facility in the months and years to come, but it can be incredibly powerful as a way of sort of paying back a little bit from those parents, paying back to the staff and the community who've looked after them during their initial time of loss, and that can help them in the bond that they have, the ongoing bond that they have with their baby.
It's interesting you describe it as that, Mark, because what you're not saying is there is a copy and paste model that everyone should have for these sorts of spaces. But what you're saying there is that it's an appropriate space, and also a community-led space as well, with a human touch. And that seems a much more positive space to create than the situation we described earlier.
Yeah, very much so. I think it does need to be based on the needs of the demographic of those women who are being served by that particular hospital, trust or board. It needs to take into consideration the context, the geography, the shape and size, the format of the building itself as well. And as you rightly say, it's not something that you can just simply design and drop into every single hospital across the UK, but needs to be sensitively handled, and as I say, alongside families who've been through that experience and are able to advise better than anybody.